Share my screen. Maya, let me know if you can see my screen when you get a second.
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, perfect. Okay, y'all. So tonight, basically, we're just going to cover the trade recaps from last week, what I'm watching going into the next week, and then also want to show you guys how I mark my levels, and then also the indicators that I think that you guys should have on your charts. I know that we went over it at the beginning, but just in case we have some new people, I just want to just show you guys what I would have starting off, right? So before we even get into any of the trade recaps, I just want to spend a couple of minutes talking about my chart setup. And right here is where you would see the indicators that I'm talking about. Now, a lot of people will ask me, hey, is it okay if I have like a free subscription with TradingView? It is, but this is just when you need more indicators, that's when it comes into play because I think that on a free version, you probably can't have more than three or whatever the case may be. So I typically have about 4 to 5 indicators. I don't really like a lot of clutter, and then I'll go over the indicators with you guys so that you can add it to your chart as well. So if I was setting up a chart from scratch today, it's really only like 4 indicators that I think you need. And it's the Strat Assistant, which is the candles that you see right here. We've talked about when you add the Strat Assistant, you're going to get the 1, the 2, the 3 bars. And then the EMAs, I'm not really sure that we talked too much about that, but that's your moving averages, your exponential moving averages, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. And then the ATR right here, which tells you how much your stock can move, whether it's up or down, right? So that you can know the strike to get for your call or put options. And then your volume, which you see right here, this lets us know if we have heavy volume coming into that stock so that we can know whether we're getting into calls or whether we're getting into puts. And these bars are going to show you that at the bottom. So typically how you add your indicators, you just go right here. And then when Strat Assistant, if you don't have that one, you will go ahead and type that in, add it to your chart. Um, the EMAs that I told you about, just type in your moving average. And then it's going to be this moving average exponential. And you know what? I want to do this with you guys because you're going to have to add it maybe like a couple of times. So basically, your EMA is important for what we're doing. It's basically let you know past price action, right? So this isn't in anything that I typically look at alone. I like to look at price action as well because this is considered a lagging indicator. But this is something that just lets you know what price did over a period of time. So once I click moving average exponential, it's going to add it to my chart. And then I'm going to go here to settings just so that I can show you guys how to edit it. So I like using the 9 EMA, the 21 EMA, and the 50 EMA. So as you can see right here, this is the 9 EMA, and we're going to keep it color coded blue. And so I'll go up here and change this to just my 21 EMA, and then I'll change the color to, I don't know, maybe pink. Okay, now you see that pink line, and then I'll add the 50 EMA too, which I thought I already had, but let me add it again. So it's the 9 EMA, the 21 EMA, and the 50 EMA, and I'll tell you what that means when they cross or when one is over the other. I'll tell you what it means in a second. I think this one is the 50. Okay, so then I'm going to change this one to the 50 EMA, and then I'll leave it purple. Okay, so I don't really like a lot of my charts cluttered, so I add and I take them off and re-add them. But basically, like I stated, most of the indicators are lagging indicators anyway. which means they just react to price. It's not predicting price. So we all know that price action comes first, right? Or we create in higher highs, lower lows. So I wouldn't just use the EMAs alone. That's why I typically don't really talk about indicators. But tonight, I feel like it's important. To talk about. Um, as you can see right here, before we even get into the charts, this is SPY chart. And you can see that SPY bounced off of not only is this a support area, and you can see my line drawn, it's bouncing off the 50 EMA. So that's important. It supported off this 50 EMA, and we were able to bounce back as high as 758. So that's typically why we have these indicators. Like I stated, I wouldn't use the EMA alone. I just use it with other indicators such as my support and resistance. It just makes the case stronger. So with me seeing that it bounced from my support area along with the 50 EMA, I was convinced that SPY, is pretty bullish. The only thing about it is that I don't trade SPY like that. But had I looked at this daily chart on SPY, I would have been pretty much bullish on this chart. Um, so while I'm talking about the EMAs, one book that I recommend, and I'm probably gonna post it, well, I am gonna post it in the group, is the Money Flow by Full Lotto. Um, so basically he's a trader. This is who I basically learned a lot of these things from when I first started years ago. He's a trader and investor, and he basically just teaches traders how to follow institutional money, right? Because we're considered retail traders, if you guys don't know. So there's real big money, institutional money in these markets. And sometimes a lot of these market makers, they don't want us to make money. They don't want retail investors like us to make money, right? So a lot of the time we have to follow where the institutional money is, identify the trends. And that's why I was telling you guys that we look at the different sectors because money rotates. We can't stay in the tech sector if money is being taken out of tech and moved somewhere else. And we've seen that last week when Tesla, everything went down, right? So basically, he literally discusses everything, and I'm going to post this in there. He's going to talk to you about the EMAs, support and resistance if you guys don't have that down pack yet, and everything will tie into each other and make sense, right? So. I really, really do like the book because it's following like a lot of the strong sectors that we talked about recently. And it talks to you about following the momentum, right? So we've basically seen it ourselves. First, we had the semiconductors, like I'm trying to go back to the chart. Let's see. Okay. So first we've seen it in the semiconductors like MU and AMD, right? We've seen the money that was being rotated into the semiconductors, then financials, JP Morgan. We played Citigroup last week too. And then obviously you guys know about the aerospace, the space sector. So our job is basically to predict where the money is going, right? So that we can, well, not predict where the money is going, predict where the money is already flowing so that we can already be in those type of plays. So I'm going to upload that book to the Discord after this Zoom. But basically, you want to have the 9 EMA, the 21 EMA, and the 50 EMA on your charts, okay? And so what that does is that the 9 and 21 are the most important for what we're doing. So we're considered swing traders or day traders, right? And so when the 9 EMA is over the 21 EMA, it's pretty much bullish, right? As you can see, MU is still holding strong above all. And so basically, when you see that a stock is above all three EMAs, it's pretty much bullish, right? It's pretty much bullish. So if we get a pullback, so this is a daily. So if we get a pullback on a smaller time frame with MU, we're probably not going to get scared out of the trade, right? We're probably going to be like, okay, this is maybe a healthy pullback. This is probably somewhere that we can get a re-entry because on the daily we see that it's holding above the three EMAs. Um, so there would be no reason for us to get scared out of that trade. And that's a lot of that's what I'm looking at a lot of the times when some people are like, well, hey, how are you still in this trade? Are you just hoping that your trade is going to go your way? But no, nine times out of ten, it's because I'm looking at the EMAs. It's because I'm looking at, okay, did we have an inside bar? Yeah, MU broke above the inside bar but did it bounce off of that support level? So I'm looking at things like that. So once you start understanding your support and resistance level, watching to see if something bounced when you go down to your smaller time frame, you will be able to stay in your trade. Okay. Um, and then you guys don't really need to know too much about the 200 EMA, but if for long-term investing, the 200 EMA helps identify the long-term trend. That's something that we can talk about if you ever have questions specifically on a long-term stock, but for what we're doing, it's typically the 9, the 21, and the 50. EMA. And like I stated, MU has earnings actually this upcoming week. I don't know if we can see it on the chart. Yeah, here it is. So anytime you see an E on the chart, it's going to be earnings. They have earnings on Wednesday after the market closes. So that's going to be pretty big. So I'm going to be looking at what AMD does. AMD is another semiconductor. Um, and then that's going to carry over into tech too. So I'm just pretty much going to be looking at everything. I don't know if I'm going to be trading, doing an earnings play for MU. I have no idea. I know that a lot of people obviously want MU to be earnings and they think that they may be earnings. But another side to playing earnings that I want people to understand, the stock can always go down. It doesn't matter how great it's been doing. You have to understand that there's something called guidance. And if MU says like, hey, we don't think that next quarter we're going to be able to deliver XYZ, or we may need to raise 80 billion in capital because the demand is crazy. Long term, that's amazing, but initially investors look at that like, okay, well, MU don't have the capital on hand. So to us, that's pretty much bearish. So it's things to look at like that. But then again, MU can continue to go up. I know they have a lot of price upgrades, but it's just risky playing with a stock like that because just imagine on a regular day, MU is about $1,500 per contract, depending on what strike you get. The premium is going to be really, really jacked up for earnings. So if you do play, just be careful. Money can definitely be made, but money can be lost as well. So if you want to be safer, you can also play the earnings reaction, meaning that after MU reports, you can play it the next day. I do understand that, the move may be made already, but you still have that option, right? Instead of you just going in blind and basically gambling your money. Um, so the last thing that I did want to talk about is what I'm watching next week. And also, I think that I wanted to touch on the multiple time frames too, because I guess a lot of people are confused with, or they may have questions with, how do I determine whether I'm looking on the weekly, the daily, and then the smaller time frame? So honestly, I always start out with the weekly. And let's just do Tesla because we trade Tesla a lot. And Tesla actually has an inside bar on the weekly. And while I have that up really quick, I just want to see if my scanner picked it up. Yeah, it did. So this is a scanner that I use on Thinkorswim, and we actually made this scanner, guys. I'm going to see if this is something that I can put into Thinkorswim, like the code that we made, so that you guys can use it. But yeah, Tesla is has an inside bar on a weekly, and as you guys can see, I'm not going to even lie to you. right now, I don't have a lot of things that I'm watching because I still have to scan after we get off this Zoom because the inside bar alone crazy, and this is for the weekly. Right here it says WK for the weekly, and then also we have a lot for the daily. So I have a couple of things to look through, and so this is it's always hard determining what trades am I going to give them? You know what I'm saying? And everything has inside bars. Something may look amazing, and this is just the inside bars. I still have fell two downs. I still have fell two ups to look through and give you guys. But I'll narrow some good plays down and then we'll go from there. Um but as far as time frames, I typically always start from the weekly unless we're going into another month. And I just will want to see how we're setting up for the month. But typically, if we're already within the month, I'm going to start from the weekly just to see what we're looking like. Like I stated, Tesla has this inside bar. You guys should know by now an inside bar is just the one bar, meaning that Tesla did not break below or above the prior candle. So it's pretty much been consolidating. Um, and then pretty much once we do get that break, it's possibly going to be a big break in either direction. So if we're taking the weekly inside bar, we're going to take the break of 384, that 384.20 area. Hold on, give me a second. Let me make it a little bigger. So the break of this 385.42 area. And I'm probably going to be aiming for this 380 area right here where we wicked at. If we can get past this wick, then I'm probably looking honestly at this 363 area. Now, do I think Tesla get to 363 in a week? Tesla can actually get to 363 in a week, yes. But understand that Tesla now has like zero DTE. So just make sure that you're selecting the right contract. Just make sure that you're selecting the Friday expiration, right? And so Tesla can probably break this area and go as low as 363. I think this 330 area would really be pushing it. We would really have to be bearish this week. We would really have to be very, very red for me to believe that we can go down to 330. Um, but that would be my area right here if we broke the bottom of this inside bar. And if we broke the top of this inside bar at 419, I'm probably going to be aiming for this 438 area. I'll probably get a 435, 430 to be safe. Um, Let me see. For me, Tesla is pretty bearish, but I feel like it's indecisive, right? We had this low right here. Um, we created a higher high. We have a higher low, meaning that we never went back down to this low. So this is a higher low. So we're holding here. And I guess we're going to see if we're going to go back up to create a higher high or what happens with Tesla. But if I do take Tesla, it'll be based on the inside bar on a weekly chart. I just have to see if the setup looks good enough for us to call. Um, and I guess let me just check futures while we're already here to see what we're doing right now. The futures are open and we are trying to climb back up. So this is Friday's post market area and this is us right now, Sunday post market. And we went as low as 30,348, and we're trying to bounce back up. So I guess, I'm not bearish or bullish. We would have to break this area right here, this 3782 area for me to be like we're bearish, well, bullish. And then this area here, I would like if we break this 3332 area, I would want to see if we bounce here. If we pretty much break this area, I'm going to be leaning towards us being pretty bearish. And if we break this area, we can go as low as this 29,924 area. So, and honestly, if we go that low, I'm going to say, well, why wouldn't we fill this gap right here? So, yeah, I think that I think that some news that we get tomorrow may weigh into what the market does. We were pretty bullish closing on Friday because of the Iran and US news, but that kind of, you know, took a back seat over the weekend. So I haven't really heard too many things of us escalating towards signing the deal. And so that's probably why we're reacting the way that we're reacting right now. So yeah, everything is pretty much down. I can see us filling the gap. So I guess I'll just be on the lookout for that going into the morning. But what I'm watching next week is basically MU earnings on Wednesday. So I feel like this is a pretty big stock and it's going to move the market, guys. MU, the growth has been crazy. Like I'm kind of upset that I didn't invest in this because I was trading this. Look, this was March 2026. This was $320. Um, but yeah, MU, like I'll tell you guys right now, if you do bet on earnings, they actually have a price target of 1,500. So, like I stated, this can go either way, you know. A lot of people obviously banking on MU going up. It could definitely go up, but it can also go down. And if we go down, we have a way to go down because we've just been up and up and up as you guys can see. So I'm definitely looking into MU going into the week and it looks like money is trying to rotate back into tech, so I'm going to keep my eyes on that. Um, Financials should still be strong next week. I'm just going to pay attention to see. But I also did want to go into the trade that we took last week now that we're speaking about financials. Let me see what was the trade idea. So it was a daily inside bar on 6/17. What day was that? Wednesday. Okay, so Citigroup had an inside bar on had to be Tuesday if I gave the level on Wednesday. Yeah, so we had an inside bar on Tuesday. And I stated calls at the break of 143. I probably didn't give puts because it looked really bullish, right? So calls at the break of 143 was the play. Let's go back to the smaller time frame. Wednesday. Yep, it played out perfectly. Um, it's Mondays, it's Tuesday. So yeah, you wanted to break up this 143 area, and the reason being, number one is obviously because that's the level of the inside bar. As you can see, this 143 area. But also, if you go to the smaller time frame, and this is why going to the smaller time frame helps us see things easier. This is the level that I already marked when I was on the daily. As you can see, we had prior rejection. Monday, this was Monday's high, we rejected, and this was Tuesday's high, and we rejected. But we bounced off that 50 EMA, and that's why I'm telling you guys it's important to have on your chart. We bounced off that EMA, and we didn't break that 136 area post market, but we did break it pre market, and we went up. So Citigroup was a great play. Another play that we took last week was Hood. Um, if I'm not mistaken, I think Hood was last week. Trade wins. Yeah, 6/17 was Wednesday. So Hood, I think that it was, I don't know, I think that it just had some bullish momentum, if I'm not mistaken. 6/17. So we had to be looking at Tuesday's candle. Okay, yeah. So this three bar. I think I like that this three bar, we pretty much closed at the top of this resistance area. And we were able to break past this resistance area and go all the way up to 110. But I figured that we were going to do this next week, but we did it that same week. So Hood was a really, really good play. It just needed some time. And so I swung Hood and yeah, like I probably, if I was watching it close enough, I probably would have averaged down right here. Because as you can see, we just continue to support off this area. We supported and we were able to break through this resistance area. Yeah, Hood looks good, and Hood still looks good going into this week. So. Hood really didn't have an actionable signal like an inside bar or fell two down or anything like that. It just had a lot of bullish momentum. And like I told you guys, if you add your volume indicator to your chart, you'll be able to see that it had a lot of volume going into Hood too. So a couple of things do go into us taking these trades. The number one thing is price action. Um, Sometimes news give us a boost, but like I tell people all the time, I just think that news coincide with the chart sometimes. But yeah, Hood was very clean. I promise. When you guys make your support and resistance lines, everything just comes easy. And I tell you guys all the time, price has memory. So a lot of these lines I'm not making every day. It's probably so many things that we don't even trade anymore, or I haven't traded in a minute and I still have lines because price has memory. Price is always going to go back up to that level to see what we did there. Are we going to reject or are we going to support? So just mark your levels, and sometimes it gets to a point to where you even have to remove lines. I used to trade SPY back when it was, oh my God, like so low, and I still have my lines here. I used to have lines when it was as low as like $300, but I removed it because my chart, I don't like my chart being too cluttered. But yeah, price has memory. So that's the number one thing that I want you guys to always remember. Price does have memory. If we bounce from an area, we're probably going to retest it again. If we reject it from an area, we're going to go retest it again and try to see if we can break through that ceiling or if we're going to go back down to the prior support level. But yeah, that's pretty much all tonight, guys. That's just the trade recap, what I'm watching next week, pretty much MU, and then whatever else after I finish scanning for tonight, I will upload to the group. And yeah, definitely add the indicators to your charts, the Strat Assistant, because obviously we use Strat to trade. That's the method that we use. And then add your volume and then your EMAs. Um, yeah, and if you need help setting anything up, just ask me or replay this video. Basically, just go to your settings, change it to the 9, the 21, the 50 EMA. And then, like I stated, I'm going to post the book in a group so that you guys can get familiar with it. Just because I know EMAs is probably new to you, so you want to do a little bit of research on it, but I think that that'll be a really, really good book. And then I will also post, I don't know if I have to pay for that or not. I'll see, but I know we suggested trading in the zone in the Discord. That's a really, really good book for psychology because you do need to have your psych in mind, your mindset in order when you're trading. So we don't want to be an emotional trader. You know, sometimes we're going to lose money on trades. Sometimes we're going to make hella money on trades. And so we just need to learn how to stay level-headed and stay balanced, whether we win or lose in our trades. So I'll make sure I upload that, guys, and then yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll have everything uploaded tomorrow, and then I guess I will open the floor for any questions. Maya, if you
Okay,
have any
I
questions.
have a question.
Okay.
So, um, as far as like the time frames go, so like I know you were saying like you use the EMAs basically to determine your bias. Is that what you were saying? Did I understand you correctly with that?
Right. So, yep, to determine my bias. So, if we're holding over the EMAs, I'm pretty much going to consider us still being bullish. If we're falling under EMAs, then possibly bearish. But It's just something that I don't use alone.
Okay.
Yes.
So with that being said, when you go to the time frames, like for the daily, after you determine, like after you use the EMA to see if it like is above the 20, 50, or what is it, the 100, if you like the after you see that, when you go to the different time frames and you are ready to mark your levels, are you going like, okay, for the support and resistance, are you marking them off like the daily or the 4 hour, or
Okay.
does that,
So,
am I asking that correctly?
yeah, I think so. So basically, are you asking me like my support and resistance lines that you see on my chart in my market? Are you asking me what time frame do I mark them on?
Yes, correct.
Okay. So yes, I always mark it on the daily. I don't know. It's just the daily because I feel like as day traders, we're literally looking at the daily so much, and I want to see how many times price may have hit a level on a daily. So typically when I mark up a chart, I want to see a level. I want to see that, you know, s- support was at this level at least three times. So right here, I would make a line right there. And then sometimes you may not even see a lot of my lines because I'll probably eyeball it, which is probably not good. But yeah, like right here, you would put a line right here because we rejected or touched this area at least three times.
Hmm.
So I start from the daily, and if I have to go down to the 4 hour, I will. But I typically do my lines on the daily, and I just go to the 4 hour and the 6 hours to see how clean it looks, if that makes
Okay.
sense. But yeah, it's typically on the daily.
Okay, so going into the market, like on, like, I guess like in the morning,
Hmm.
so you have your support and resistance marked
Right.
from the daily, and then after that, you're just basically going based off like the strategy, as far as like when you're gonna enter, or and things like that. Is that how that works, or?
Right. So for example, with Tesla, I told you. So when I decide what I want to give you guys or what I want to get into, and then sometimes it may not even play out, but it depends on like an actionable signal, like an inside bar, right?
Mhm.
So right here on a weekly, I'm like, okay, I know that Tesla can move. So it has an inside bar on a weekly. If it breaks this level, then we're gonna be in calls at this level and then take it to the next take profit area. Now, sometimes, levels may change once we get in the morning, once we get to the pre-market. So let's say Tesla already broke this area, then you'll see me go down to the 30-minute. And if we broke that level, I'll say, hey, let's get into Tesla at the break of pre-market highs. Because if we already broke the inside bar level and we haven't retested the pre-market highs, to me, that's still ample amount of time for us Tesla to go back down and retest that inside bar or even or go any lower or even lower. So for me to be safe, I would want us to break the pre-market level that we already hit.
Mm,
Um,
okay.
and
And then
then go
for
ahead.
your take profit, is it like the very next week, or after the level that's being broken?
So for my take profit, typically we're trying to take profit on basically the previous day high. So like if you see right here, Tesla went as high as 406.22 on Wednesday. And then let's say, okay, we hit 406. My next take profit would probably be this 412 area, which was Tuesday's high.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense.
Yep. And then Monday's high 415. So it's just level by level, maybe the previous day high. And honestly, some traders may do it different. They may go to the 15. It's probably going to all be the same, but some people may go to the daily and they may take bigger levels. They may be in a trade like, hey, yeah, Tesla can go to 415, but I'm going to be on the daily and I think Tesla can go to 430. So it just depends on the type of trader that you are and then if you're going to get these contracts further out because Tesla may need make that move in 2 weeks. So you don't want to get a weekly if, Tesla needs about 2 weeks to cook.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I have one more question. So like let's say for instance we enter a trade off the 30-minute time frame,
Hmm.
but on the I guess like the 5 minute the time frame, the trade is going in the opposite direction. Like how would you know when to exit the trade?
Okay. So if you're okay, so you enter a trade on 30 minute, that's bullish, but now you're looking on a smaller time frame like the 2 minute, and that's red is what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay, so let's see. Let's see if I can pull one. Tesla. So basically, how I wouldn't get scared out of the trade is if, because we're going to have pullbacks, right? So if we're
Mhm.
not creating a trend that's going against us, like if Tesla isn't creating any lower lows, lower highs, then I'm pretty much going to stay in the trade. Let me see if I can give you an example. Do, 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 do. Let me see. Move on to the 2 minute. Okay. So I feel like this is a good example right here too. So let's say I got in Tesla. Let's say I got in Tesla calls, right? Let's say right here, I got in Tesla calls. I see that we bounced off this 394 area and we went all the way up to 397. Now, why I wouldn't take this, I don't know, but let's say I did not take this and Tesla went back down, right? So I
Mhm.
would try to see if Tesla is going to bounce from this 394 area because this has been prior support. So if we break through this, I'm probably thinking, well, we're not going to hold and we can go as low as maybe this 393 area or even as low as this 387 area. Do I want to hold Tesla if it breaks under 393 for us to potentially go to 388? So that's what I would look at. And then if you can see, it actually did hold this area. We went as high as 395. It wasn't as high as 397, but we did bounce to 395 and we came back to this same area we supported. Now we did wick a little bit, but we were supported from this same area, and look what happened. And this is on a 2 minute, so it's not even a daily. We had an explosive move. So yeah, I know it can be scary not getting tricked out of a trade, but you just have to go down to that 2 minute, sometimes even 5 minute, because 2 minutes can scare you out. But if you're brave and you want to go to 5 minute, you can go down to that 5 minute too. But that's what you would do. You just go down to your smaller time frame, look at where we've been supporting at, same thing like you would do on a daily chart. And
Mhm.
it's like, hey, yeah, it means Tesla's building support at this 394. Why would I get scared out of this trade? And
Okay.
then if trust your analysis, then obviously you see how you were rewarded because it broke through and we went to 402. So
Mhm.
I know it's easier said than done though, trust me, because sometimes I still have struggle with it, but that's how you would do it.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, sounds good.
Okay. Did you have any other questions?
No, that'll be it.
Okay. All right. But yeah, like I said, I'll upload all of this soon and then I'll see about putting the books in the group too.
Okay, perfect.
All right. All right.
All right. Well, thank you so much
You're
for
welcome.
the
Thank you
room
for showing
tonight.
up all the time. All right.
Absolutely.
You're
All right.
welcome.
So anxious to really just learn this.
Yeah, no, 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 you're doing good too. So, but yeah, I'll get everything uploaded and then we'll talk tomorrow.
Okay. Have a good night.
All right, you too. Bye.